everybody! Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jill, otherwise known as the Enlightened Target, and this channel is devoted to narcissistic abuse, awareness and recovery, parental alienation, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and anything and everything associated with those three main topics. Today's topic is going to be about a very real symptom that many victims struggle with after narcissistic abuse. Many times our thinking will become consumed with what we have gone through. Why did this happen? How did this happen? How could I have not seen the red flags? We get this sort of obsession about trying to understand and comprehend what has happened to us. How did we not know there were people out there like this? And how in the world did we ever get involved with someone like this to the degree that we did? We begin these ruminating thoughts about the abuser or the abuse. Ruminations are repetitive, continual thoughts over and over and over, trying desperately to find a logical answer or understand what has happened to us. These ruminating thoughts are a normal reaction to trauma and a traumatized brain. Your brain has been scarred by multiple instances of trauma or PTSD and is still fixated on processing the threat. Obsessing about the abuse you suffered through is normal and in some senses healthy because it's how the body works through the process, grieves the losses that you have suffered, and begins to interpret the new reality you have learned, which is that there are really, truly evil people in the world who are not only out to harm you, but gain pleasure out of harming you. Our brains are in a state of shock, so to speak. It's also important to note that the bigger the trauma exposure, the deeper the impact or the scarring on the brain, and the longer these wounds will take to heal. Many times I will tell my coaching clients to imagine if you could take all the emotional and psychological trauma that you have been put through and put it into physical form. Can you imagine what you would look like? You would look like you had been hit by a train. And had you been hit by a train, you would have been airlifted to the emergency room. You would be in intensive care. And then you would need months and months of physical therapy and all kinds of other things to get back to the way you were before you got hit by the train. However, because we, victims of narcissistic abuse, cannot physically see the wounds, the scars, the trauma, we think it should not be affecting us to the degree that it is. The reality is that psychological and emotional traumas require intentional healing, no different than if you had a broken arm or back. The obsessive thoughts, the ruminating thoughts, are a normal process to being harmed and traumatized. If you were left completely unaffected by being subjected to the extremes of narcissistic abuse, someone you knew and trusted, someone who intentionally harmed you, exploited you, betrayed you, and terrorized you, then you would likely be a sociopath yourself. You would be a person who is unable to process or feel complex emotions. So it's critically important for survivors to understand this is a normal process that happens when the brain is traumatized. In closing, while what we're going through is normal, we do not want to get stuck in ruminating about the trauma, trying to figure out every explanation to what happened to us, because much of what victims of narcissistic abuse have lived through, there will not be a logical or normal explanation to, other than the fact that you have been targeted and abused by a human being that does not have a functioning conscience. You cannot sort through the trauma of narcissistic abuse from the lens of someone who can experience normal human emotions like empathy, compassion, guilt, regret, remorse, and loyalty. Sometimes the answers that the traumatized brain is seeking cannot be logically explained. So to a degree, to a point, we may have to come to understand that we cannot find the answers we seek, except to say we have been the victim of someone who is not like us, who enjoys things that cause suffering and hurt to other people, a person who knows right from wrong but does not have the capacity to care about the harm and damage that they do. We have to grieve what we have gone through, but at a certain point, we have to just accept the fact that there are no logical answers. Okay, that's going to do it for today's video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel. Also, follow me on Facebook and Instagram. The links are in the description below. Thanks for watching, everyone.